Hey beautiful people, welcome back to Graceful Family. It's your girl Kanisha Brookring, and I am always honored and I am always blessed to be here sitting before you, sharing with you my life experience and how my mistakes have helped me and how my mistakes can help you. If you don't see me, it's usually my husband. If it's not my husband, it is me. It should be both of us, but life. Now we have 5 kids in this house, a 6-month-old soon, praise God. And, things just ain't the same. Routines ain't the same. You know, things just is not the same. Things are not the same. Things are not the same. But we praise God for a bigger tribe. We praise God for life and health. And we praise God that we can come before you guys and give you tools, skills, knowledge, and information that has assist us to better our lives in hopes that you will not just hear it, you will do it to assist you and assist your life, assist your home, your family. As you guys know, I am doing a series from the book called Things I Wish I Known Before I Got Married. And we're continuing in this series. Now, guys, this one is a hot topic. So please stay tuned. Share this video, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. Like and subscribe. Follow us on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook. Follow me on Instagram and stay tuned as God is doing whatever He's doing here and as we are pursuing better and more. Let's get into this video, okay? Now, if you haven't watched the last video, I encourage you to go and watch it. And the last video was talking about getting to know your partner, getting to know your spouse, what they like, what they don't like, and putting the effort in stage 2 of the relationship once the love high has passed. Getting to know them and putting in the effort to love them intentionally. This video is talking about like mother, like daughter, like father, like son. Now, I know you guys are very intellectual, so I know you guys are like, but this goes deep. Gary, in the book, Things I Wish I Known Before I Got Married, talk about getting to know the parents, getting to know who raised your spouse or your potential partner, the person that you are about to marry, getting to know the parents, getting to really sit down and observe how the parents are so that you can address these behavior in your partner before you say I do. Now, if you're like me, my husband, my mom was not here in the United Kingdom when I met my husband. Okay, she do not live in the United Kingdom anymore. She lived in the States, and so my husband didn't spend a lot of time around my mother. And the situation with my husband and who raised him was not yet accepted. And so we didn't have the luxury of getting to know our parents or our carers, in-laws. Okay, we didn't have that luxury. All right. However, I feel like even if you didn't have the luxury of getting to know them before you got married, it is good to get to know them after and see what behaviors you can see in your spouse that is also in the parents, and talk about healthier and better ways of handling situation. Now, let's touch on some things that Gary brought up. He says, whoever raised us greatly influenced our life. Okay, we might not notice it because we're raised by them, and so how they raise us is normal to us, is normality. But someone else might come around my mother or my father and be like, this behavior is not good. My father was not in my life, but I feel genes play a part. I might have some behaviors in me that is from my father, not through him being around, but through nature versus nurture. Definitely, I do know that I have some behaviors from my mother which I really had to address in my marriage, okay? Now, say for example, if your parent was controlling, if they were aggressive, if they were emotionally unavailable, okay, if they were emotionally explosive, right? This behavior might be in your spouse. Behavior might be a potential behavior that you might see in your partner. And so we are products of our environment. So however we were raised, whatever environment that we were raised in, we are going to have traits, okay, behaviors and attributes, okay? One thing that me and my twin, I love you, shout out to my twin sister, was talking about just today was poverty, okay? Poverty, being poor-minded and having poor mentality and behavior is passed down. If your parents is struggling financially today in their 50s, in their 60s, more likely you are struggling financially. If you do not become aware of why you're struggling financially and then find the steps in becoming financially better, whatever you see in your parents today, it's going to be you in the future, and your children will be looking at you, seeing your parents in you. And so by addressing these behaviors and these attributes early, you are able to then change what we call generational curses. Do I believe generational curses can be spiritual? Yes, I do. I believe in this. I believe in spirituality. I believe in the spirit realm. I also believe in knowledge and understanding. I do believe in breaking some stuff spiritually and addressing some things spiritually so that you can affect your physical world. But I do believe that you also need to gain the knowledge, the wisdom, the understanding, and the skills, okay, to even have a greater breakthrough. Another thing Gary brought up is that if you were abused as a child, it is likely that you will be an abusive person, unless, of course, you become aware of the abuse, you become aware of the effect that the abuse had on you, and you take the necessary steps to make sure that you do not pass on that pain and that hurt by what? Therapy, counseling, reading books, getting mentors, getting coaches, audibles, whatever it takes for you to address the behavior and become better, right? Becoming aware, taking responsibility of how you behave and things that you do, and making the necessary effort to change. Right? And we all know change is not easy. Change is hard. I speak about this a lot in my videos, being someone who was very angry and very explosive. I definitely can say I got this from my mother. My mother, she can be the most sweetest person. You step on your toe, you're gonna you're going to encounter the dragon within, okay? The dragon, I said that. Okay, and I definitely saw that trait in me. I became aware of that trait in me, especially in my marriage, and I became aware of that trait in my siblings, in my family members, that it was a behavior that we all had. We could be the most calmest, most sweetest, most loving, but you touch us or bring us the wrong way, and like a living live physical demon will manifest. And I had to become aware of that. I had to address it, and I had to take the necessary steps to overcome that behavior, to get rid of it and to become better. Was it hard? Yes. Do I still struggle? Yes. But am I different? Yes. Is there room for improvement? Yes. Okay, it's an ongoing battle, guys, an ongoing battle. But as long as you are aware, as long as you're taking the necessary steps to becoming better, I congratulate you. I pat you on the back and I say, well done. Because not everyone is okay to say, you know what? I need help. I need to work on this behavior. I can do better. I need to do better because this behavior is harmful not just to me, but to my loved one. So we gotta remember abuse can be mentally, it can be verbal, it can be emotionally, it can be financially, it can be physically, right? And you have to be aware of what abuse is, because if you don't know what is abusive and what is harmful because you're not hitting someone, you can be an abusive person without actually knowing. And I feel like that is something we dealt with in our marriage, where we were unaware of our behaviors and how abusive they were. And once we realized that this behavior was abusive, we had to take the necessary steps to change. It wasn't no compromising. It was, these behaviors are not right, and we need to do what we need to do to better ourselves, to take responsibility, and to do better for ourselves and for each other and for our marriage to work. Because here's the thing, we want to be in relationships and we want to be in marriages, and we want to mistreat the people that we say we love, that we say we want to be intimate with, that we say we want to live a lifetime with, but we treat the ones that we want a lifetime with like crap. We treat them like rubbish. Okay? And we need to come to the understanding, ain't nobody want to be with anybody who treats them like rubbish for long term, especially when that person come to the understanding of who they are. Right? When you come to an understanding that you are worthy of love, you're worthy of respect, you're worthy of kindness, you are worthy. Okay, regardless if you made a mistake, regardless if you were wrong. And this was something that I had to really put in my mind and my consciousness and my unconsciousness, that no matter if my husband step out of place, he is worthy of love, he's worthy of respect, he's worthy of kindness. And I had to fix my behavior to allow him to be a man, to allow him to be human, to allow him to make mistakes, and to not be explosive every time I feel like I'm hurt or whatever. I had to implement emotional intelligence and control. Okay? And as women, I know that we can be very emotional, especially if we were not taught emotional intelligence, of understanding how we're feeling and the best way to communicate our feelings without being a wreck, right? However, it is our responsibility how we behave and how we deal with people. And so it is our responsibility to learn emotional intelligence, implement it, and use it to becoming better. Okay, that our husbands may see us as their safe place, that they would not have to go to someone else to tell things that are on their hearts, because they're afraid to tell us, because they don't know how we're going to respond to what they have to say. And so I had to understand that, and I had to become better in how I handle my hurt, I handle my disappointments, I handle my pain. I had to become better. One of the things Gary talked about in the book was learning from our parents' mistakes, learning and becoming better, right? Now, I'm going to use myself an example. When I was younger, I was so angry at my mom for some of the things that I felt like she put us through as children and as young adults. And I will tell my mom, I will never be like, I was so hateful and I was so angry. And I'll say, I'll never be like you. I'll never be like you. By the time I was 24, I looked in the mirror and I was like, I was just like my mother. And I didn't like it, because I felt like some of the decisions my mother made was not beneficial for us, like having several children for several baby fathers. However, I was 24 with 3 baby fathers, like on the path. Like literally, I was taking the same path as my mom. And I remember my mom looking at me one day and literally saying, "You're just like me." And I cried because I realized I was actually just like her. And I did not like it because, as I said, I don't think some of my mother's behaviors or choices was beneficial for us. Now, that was me as a child thinking. Now I'm an adult, right? And I know that my mom did the best that she could with what she knew. That she did not intentionally do stuff to harm us, but she was living the life that she knew how to live, right? And my mom right now is one of my best friends. I love her to bits. She's an amazing mother. She was not perfect, but I love her and I thank her for doing what she could have done. We had to have those hard, difficult conversation where I had to say, Mom, when this happened, this is how I felt. And we had to let them go because now I'm an adult. I have to make my own decisions and I have to do what is best for my children and not hold on to the hurt and the pain from my past and blame my mother and still be the same, right? Now I have to become better. And Gary, what he was saying in this book is that you don't have to become an alcoholic. You don't have to be abusive. You don't have to go on the path that your parents chose. And if you are on the path, you can make a U-turn by becoming aware of the behaviors, by learning the steps, understanding the behaviors. Where did they come from? Why did they come from that place? And how you can take the steps in changing the story of your family, of your bloodline. One of the example he used is someone who had an alcoholic parent. And if they don't want to become an alcoholic, they need to why someone become alcoholic. What are they using the alcohol to do? They're using it to soothe disappointment. They're using it to soothe pain. And so by learning better ways of soothing yourself, more constructive ways, right? Positive ways, okay, of dealing with stress, of dealing with disappointment. When you learn positive and constructive way, you now take the power back, right? From alcohol, from the pain, from the stress. You say, no, I'm not gonna go and drink a bottle, right, of alcohol to soothe this pain that's gonna still be there. But I'm gonna learn constructive ways of dealing with my disappointment so that I do not follow the steps of my parents. You can do this with your spouse or your potential spouse. Is one, write down ways that you saw in your parents, good and bad. The ways that you don't want to follow and the ways that you do. Discuss them, have a conversation about them, and then write down ways and discuss ways that you can deal with this behavior in a more healthy, in a more kind, in a more patient, and in a more loving way. Ways that have helped me and ways that Gary brought up in the books was enrolling in classes. I did that. I studied hard psychology. I actually have a master's in psychology, and I want to continue learning psychology on the way that we think and the reason why we behave the way that we behave, and how we can take the steps in becoming better. What can we do to change our outcome? That my future does not reflect the negative future of my parents, right? And this is not just for me, this is for my children. This is for my children's children. This is so that they can see a different and a better example. And they will one day sit and do this and reflect, oh, what did mommy do that I didn't like because I'm not perfect? Oh, what did daddy do that I didn't like? And then how can I become better? And so every generation, our children will become better. Right? Isn't that amazing? right? So enroll in classes, right? Read books. Love, if you watch me, you know I love reading books, yeah? Talk with counselors and discuss this with your loved ones, right? Now, me and my husband, we get counseling, we get therapy, not just on marriage, but on our past, on ourself. We encourage it. We encourage it because we know that it has been beneficial for us, not just marriage wise, but as individuals, right? We encourage it, okay? And it is important to not ignore the things that you see in yourself, the attributes and the behaviors that you see in yourself. Do not ignore it, right? Do not ignore it, but be aware of it and want better. And then take the steps in becoming better. Take the steps, the necessary steps to become better. I love this one that Gary said. He said, look at the physical attributes and appearance of your parents and understand that that can possibly that can be you. Okay, that can be you. And it all depends whether they're healthy or unhealthy, whether they have a lot of health issue or they don't. What are they doing that you need to avoid so that you don't have all those health conditions, right? Or what are they doing that you need to do so that you can be healthy and fit? See, most of us are way more similar to our parents than we are aware, whether it's a negative thing or a positive thing. If it's not our parents, it's the ones who raised us. And we have to really reflect and take a look at how we can become better humans, better people, right? Especially when it comes to our spouse, our children, and our loved ones. One thing Gary touched on was communication patterns. How do your parents communicate? Are they shouters? Are they cursors? Are they interrupters, right? Or are they silent, right? Now, my mother was a cursor, my mother was a shouter, and you know, I was an A star in that, right? I was an A star in that, and that was my normality, right? It was normal, right? And I had to understand that it is unhealthy, right? Shouting all the time is unhealthy for me, it's unhealthy for my husband, it's unhealthy for my children. Swearing and cursing, it's unhealthy, yeah? And it doesn't make me a good role model for my children. How did my mother handle conflict? My mother was a fighter. Ah, Jesus. My mother was a fighter. So whole and behold, Kanisha was a fighter. I was a fighter. Just look at me the wrong way. Just you don't gotta say nothing. Just make me think that you're thinking something, right? My mother was a fighter. I was a fighter, right? I was leaving my children and going to big wars to fight. I was fighting in front of my children. I was warring in front of my children. I was calling grown men out. Let's do this. Let's do this. Because I had become so hardened, right? So hardened that I can be hit and it doesn't faze me. It doesn't move me like Monday, right? And I had to realize that this behavior that I learned is unhealthy, especially as a mother. You know, on the bus, calling out the bus driver to come and fight, like, it's unhealthy. You know, I'm laughing now, but in reality, it was a dangerous situation that I kept putting my children in. And these times they were young, they were babies. And I had to identify the behaviors. I had to acknowledge them, right? I had to admit them. And then I had to take the necessary steps to change. I had to take the necessary steps to change. So what is your communication style? What's your partner communication style? How do they handle conflict? It comes from somewhere. You have to identify it. You need to deal with it. Okay, especially if it's unhealthy for you, for your spouse, for your potential spouse, for your children. We have to do better. We can no longer use excuses to stay the way that we are. We can no longer use excuses and blame our parents. We're grown adults now. We're big people. So now we need to take responsibility for how we are behaving, for the children we are raising, right? We have to take responsibility. I think I've put it all out on the table, right? And this video is about looking at the behaviors that we've learned, deciding whether these behaviors are healthy or unhealthy, and taking the necessary steps to becoming better in the way we handle conflict, in the way we treat one another. The simplest stuff as opening a door, closing a door, interrupting your partner while they're speaking, nagging your partner to literally death. You know, be aware of you. Have this conversation with your partner. Watch this video with your partner. And you both have to be aware of yourselves. And you both have to have the difficult conversation about what about each other is making each other unhappy, right? One of the conversations me and Richard had to have was when I got angry and I would start swearing and shouting, and I'll just be off the rails. Right? I had to acknowledge it. I had to take responsibility, and I had to take the steps to becoming better. Right? My husband had to look at his flaws, and we had to learn to grow and develop with each other so that we can live in our home in harmony, in peace, and in love. Are we perfect now? Still? No. But are we better? Yes. The goal is to always become better, always grow, always develop, always become more than what we are, right? And by constant awareness, consciousness, and work, it is possible, right? Now, I hope you guys are enjoying this series, and I thank you guys for following me. And for following me and for supporting my videos. I will ask you to support me even more by liking my videos, sharing, and commenting. If you are experiencing anything that I've spoken about, or if this video have turned on a light bulb in your head and you'd be like, oh, I struggle with this, or my husband struggled with this, or my spouse struggled with this, please share. Please share and let us know what steps are you taking to make things better. God bless.